Ladies and gentlemen, you will fail. You will fail. But hear me when I tell you this, fall forward. Don't be afraid to take that step, even if the ground feels unsure. Because when you fall back, you see nothing. But when you fall forward, at least you're still gaining ground. Every successful person you admire has fallen, and hard. The question is not if you'll fall. The question is, how will you land? Will you lie there, or will you push off the ground with more strength than you had before? I've been there, standing in rooms where I didn't belong, reading lines I didn't think I could deliver, hearing a no more times than yes. But each a no was fertilizer, fuel, a lesson. And I chose to fall forward, put God first in everything you do. I don't mean just when things go wrong. I don't mean just when the storm comes. I mean every single day. Every breath. Because when the applause stops and the lights go out and nobody's calling your name, you better have something bigger holding you up. That foundation has to be rooted in faith or it'll crumble. Success without faith is just noise. But when God is first, you don't need to chase the platform. The platform finds you. Dreams are not enough. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Dreams are not enough. Goals on paper, ideas in your head, hopes in your heart, they mean nothing if you don't back them with discipline. The grind is quiet. Nobody's clapping at 5 a.m. when you're studying, practicing, failing privately. But that's where the real magic happens. If you want something you've never had, you must do something you've never done. And that includes sacrifice. That includes silence. That includes sweat that nobody else sees. And let me tell you something that will humble you real quick. What you do for others will outlive what you do for yourself. I've met millionaires. I've worked with legends. And I can tell you, their money fades. Their fame fades. But their impact that's forever. The question you should be asking isn't a how can I get more, but a how can I give more? Because legacy is built in moments of service. What seeds are you planting in other people? That's what makes you rich. Listen, you were not put here just to exist. You were put here to build, to grow, to lift others. You've got something in you that's greater than your environment, stronger than your excuses, louder than your doubt. But you got to fall forward. You got to put faith first. You got to grind like nobody's watching. And you've got to serve like everybody matters. That's how you build a legacy. That's how you live full and die empty. ChatGPT said falling is inevitable. No matter who you are, where you come from, or how much you've prepared, there will come a time when life knocks you off your feet. But the direction in which you fall can determine the trajectory of your entire future. Fall forward, not backward. Because when you fall forward, you're still making progress. You're still heading toward your goal. You may be down, but at least you're down in the direction of purpose. There is no shame in failing. The only shame is in refusing to rise again or allowing the fall to send you backward into fear, regret, or inaction. When you fall backward, all you see is where you've been. You see your mistakes, your missed opportunities, the doubts, the criticism, the people who told you that you couldn't. Falling backward is comfortable for some because it's familiar. It's what you already know. But when you fall forward, you can't see everything. And that's the beauty of it. It forces you to trust, to believe that something greater lies ahead even when it's not fully visible. Falling forward means you're leaning into risk, leaning into growth, leaning into the version of yourself that you have yet to meet. The greatest success stories were written with failure as the ink, the kind of endurance that prepares you for the long journey ahead, the kind that reminds you that this life isn't about instant wins, but about lasting progress. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to hear a no. You're going to feel like giving up, but fall forward anyway. Take the risk. Make the call. Launch the project. Speak the truth. Love again. Trust again. Believe again. Because falling forward isn't failure. It's faith. Faith that the journey is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, more capable than you were yesterday. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need all the answers. All you need is the courage to fall in the direction of your purpose, to stumble with dignity, to miss the mark and still keep aiming. That's how you grow. That's how you evolve. That's how you eventually reach the place you were destined for. Not because you never fell, but because you never stopped moving forward. No matter how many times you hit the ground, put God first. It's not a phrase meant to sound poetic or religiously correct. It's a principle. It's a way of life that demands you to realign your entire focus to ground your ambition, your dreams, your relationships, and your success in something higher than yourself. Because the truth is, everything you build with your own hands, no matter how skilled, how talented, how hardworking you are, can fall apart if it doesn't rest on a solid foundation. And that foundation is faith. That foundation is God. When you put God first, you don't operate out of ego. You operate out of purpose. You stop asking, what do I want from life? And you start asking, what does God want from me? That single shift in thinking changes everything. It changes everything. It changes how you treat people. It changes how you make decisions. It changes how you view failure, success, struggle, and timing. Because when God is first, you understand that everything has meaning. Even the pain, even the silence, even the delay. There's a lot of noise in the world telling you to put yourself first. Chase your desires. Do whatever feels right. Make your name known. But if you only build a life around your name, you will collapse under the weight of your own ambition. That's not strength. That's a setup for burnout, anxiety, and emptiness. But when you put God first, you don't need to chase success. You're assigned to it. You're not guessing anymore. You're walking in alignment. You're not just moving fast. You're moving in the right direction. People will tell you that faith is passive, that it's a comfort zone for the weak. But true faith, real faith, is anything but passive. It's the most active, intentional decision you can make. It requires humility. It demands surrender. It challenges you to trust when nothing makes sense, to keep walking when the path is dark, and to believe even when the evidence is missing. Putting God first doesn't mean your life will be easy. But it means your life will be anchored. And in a world that changes every second, that anchor is everything. When you put God first, it doesn't mean you stop dreaming or stop working. It means your dreams are now filtered through a higher purpose. Your hustle has direction. Your goals have weight. Your goals have weight. And your success has responsibility. Because when God elevates you, it's not just for your own benefit. It's so you can lift others too. The blessings that flow into your life aren't meant to stop with you. They're meant to pass through you. You become a vessel, a light, a servant. That's the kind of success that lasts. That's the kind of impact that echoes beyond your time on earth. Every major decision in life becomes clearer when God is first. You stop compromising. You stop settling. You start choosing based on principles instead of pressure. You develop the ability to walk away from good things because you're waiting on the God thing. And that takes strength. That takes maturity. That takes discipline. But when you walk with God, you realize that the delays are never denials. They're divine redirections. What you thought was rejection was actually protection. What looked like a closed door was really God preparing something better on the other side. Putting God first also transforms how you handle failure. You stop seeing it as a reflection of your worth, and you start seeing it as part of your preparation. You stop blaming God for what went wrong and start trusting Him for what's coming. You stop asking, why me, and start saying, use me. That shift alone will take you from victim to vessel, from wandering to walking in purpose. Because when God is first, failure doesn't mean it's over. It just means He's not done yet. Your character begins to shift. You start showing up with integrity, even when no one's watching. You treat people right, not because they deserve it, but because it reflects who you serve. You stop comparing your journey to others because you realize your assignment is custom designed. You don't need to compete when you're already chosen. And that confidence isn't arrogance. It's identity. It's knowing who you belong to, who's guiding you, and who gets the glory at the end of the day. There are going to be seasons where things don't add up, where you give your best and get the worst in return, where people misunderstand you, walk away from you, or overlook you. But when God is first, your validation doesn't come from them. Your value doesn't decrease because of someone's inability to see your worth. You're rooted, you're steady. You know that every setback is setting up something greater. You understand that what the world calls losses, God uses as lessons. And when you trust Him with the outcome, you stop trying to control everything. Putting God first also reshapes how you define success. It's no longer just about money, titles, or fame. It's about impact. It's about obedience. It's about peace. Because there's nothing more powerful than a life that is both excellent and aligned. A life that is filled with purpose, grounded in truth, and guided by faith. That kind of life can't be shaken by storms or opinions. That kind of life speaks for itself. This world is loud and it's fast. It will tempt you to measure your worth by likes, followers, promotions, and applause. But when God is first, none of that defines you. Your identity is rooted in something eternal. You're not just a creator. You're created. You're not just chasing light. You're carrying it. You're not just trying to make a name. You're honoring the one who gave you your breath. And that changes how you show up every single day. It's not always popular. It won't always make sense to others. Some people will question your choices, mock your discipline, or doubt your calling. But when God is first, you're okay being misunderstood. You're okay not being liked. You're okay taking the long road because you know who's leading it. And that quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to shout, is the most powerful thing you can carry in this life. Putting God first is not a one-time decision. It's a daily surrender. It's waking up each morning and saying, not my will, but yours. It's laying down your pride, your plans, your fears, and picking up faith instead. It's praying when you'd rather panic. It's trusting when you'd rather take control. It's choosing character over comfort, purpose over popularity, and obedience over opportunity. The most fulfilled people aren't the ones who have the most. They're the ones who gave the most. They gave their time, their gifts, their lives to something bigger than themselves. And they didn't do it for recognition. They did it because they understood that life is temporary, but legacy is eternal. When you put God first, you stop striving to be impressive and start striving to be impactful. You realize that the applause of heaven matters more than the applause of man. And that's when you truly begin to live, not just for success, but for significance. Hard work always pays off. That's not just a slogan you put on a poster or a phrase you repeat when things get tough. It's a truth that's been proven time and time again across generations, industries, backgrounds, and belief systems. It's a principle embedded in the life of every champion, every leader, every game changer who refused to settle for average. You don't get excellence without effort. You don't get legacy without labor. You don't become great by wishing, you become great by working relentlessly, consistently, and intentionally. The world is filled with talent that never saw daylight, ideas that never left the notebook, dreams that never became reality. Not because they weren't possible, but because someone didn't put in the work. Desire alone doesn't create results. Potential without discipline is wasted. Passion without perseverance is hollow. You can have all the natural gifts in the world, but if you're not willing to do the work day in and day out, when no one is watching, when the motivation fades, when it's inconvenient, then those gifts will lie dormant. Hard work is what separates the ones who talk from the ones who deliver. It's what draws the line between intentions and impact. It doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment. It often feels thankless, invisible, repetitive. But that's the grind. That's the seed planting season. It's behind the scenes. It's early mornings and late nights. It's getting up when you're tired and pushing through when you feel stuck. It's mastering the basics so well that excellence becomes your new normal. And the ones who embrace it, who stay with it through the discomfort, are the ones who eventually see the reward. There's no such thing as an overnight success. What looks like a breakthrough is usually the result of years of quiet, consistent work. It's easy to look at someone winning and assume they got lucky, but luck without preparation is useless. You don't get lucky at the top of a mountain, you climb it. You climb it, one step at a time, with sweat, with failure, with sacrifice. Hard work doesn't guarantee instant results, but it always builds something in you. And that something is what eventually brings the reward. The world won't always reward you immediately. Sometimes it'll feel like your effort is going unnoticed. You'll wonder if it's even worth it. You'll look around and see others cutting corners and getting ahead, and you'll be tempted to do the same. But shortcuts come with a price. They rob you of the process. They steal the depth of what you're building. And what you get without work, you'll lose without warning. But what you earn through effort, that lasts, that teaches. That molds your character in ways comfort never could. Hard work teaches you more than just discipline. It teaches you patience. It forces you to confront your own limits, your own laziness, your own excuses. It stretches your capacity. It matures your mindset. It turns pressure into preparation. It shows you who you really are when things aren't easy. Anybody can show up when it's fun. Anybody can be inspired for a week. But the ones who succeed are the ones who keep showing up long after the feeling fades. And the beautiful thing about hard work is that it never returns void. Even when you don't get the outcome you expected, you gain something better. You gain resilience. You gain wisdom. You gain a new level of confidence. Not because everything went your way, but because you know you gave everything you had. There's a quiet peace that comes from knowing you left nothing on the table, that you showed up with integrity, with effort, with excellence, regardless of the reward. Hard work is what earns you credibility. It's what earns you respect. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect the grind. They will see the consistency. They will see the difference between noise and real work. Because there are a lot of people talking about success, but only a few actually doing what it takes to get there. You don't have to be the loudest in the room if your work speaks for you. Let your results make the noise. Let your consistency be your proof. Success isn't just about doing what you love. It's about loving what you do enough to do it when it's hard, boring, and unrecognized. Everyone wants the spotlight, but few are willing to rehearse in the shadows. Everyone wants the crown, but not everyone wants to carry the weight that comes with it. Hard work is the price of admission. It's the unglamorous path that leads to undeniable results. It's also important to understand that hard work doesn't mean burnout. It doesn't mean destroying your health or sacrificing your values. It means giving your best within healthy boundaries. It means showing up fully, being present, and committing to excellence no matter how small the task. It means not cutting corners, not rushing the process, and not quitting when it gets uncomfortable. Real hard work is strategic. It's focused, it's sustainable, and it's deeply rooted in purpose. The most powerful transformations come from consistent action. You don't build a strong body in one workout. You don't master a skill in one session. You don't create a legacy in 1 year. But if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up, if you keep refining your craft and pushing yourself day after day, the compound effect kicks in. And suddenly 5 years from now, you're standing in a life you once prayed for, worked for, and almost gave up on. Not because you got lucky, but because you worked. And here's the truth. Hard work will always feel hard before it feels worth it. That's the nature of growth. You won't always see progress in real time. You won't always get applause, but trust the process. Trust the grind. Trust the fact that your effort is shaping you in ways you can't see yet. The future belongs to the ones who keep going, who keep refining, who keep believing. Because hard work is not just what you do. It becomes who you are. It becomes your standard, your identity, your edge. So whatever you're building, your dream, your career, your family, your calling, show up with work ethic, show up with focus, show up with relentless effort, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But eventually, in some form, it will return. And when it does, you'll look back and realize it wasn't just about the outcome. It was about who you became along the way. True wealth is in service. That statement doesn't fit the world's definition of success, but it's a truth that outlasts trends, outlives bank accounts, and outshines fame. You can measure your net worth in numbers, but your real value is found in how much you give, how deeply you serve, and how intentionally you lift others. The most fulfilled lives are not those spent chasing status, but those spent changing lives. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how much you have, it's about how much you gave. Serving others changes your perspective. It shifts your focus from self to significance. From accumulation to contribution, it reveals a deeper level of purpose that money can't buy and attention can't replace. You begin to understand that legacy isn't built on possessions. It's built on people, on kindness, on sacrifice, on love and action. That's the kind of wealth that lasts beyond your lifetime. That's the kind of impact that never dies. When you serve, you tap into something eternal. You're no longer living just for your own goals or your own comfort. You're stepping into a life that reflects something bigger. The most powerful people in history, the most influential leaders, the ones we quote and celebrate and remember, they were servants first. They gave themselves away. Not after they got everything they wanted, but as a way of life. They understood that greatness is not in how high you climb, but in how many people you bring with you. Serving others is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's strength under control. It takes humility to serve when no one's watching. It takes maturity to prioritize others when your ego wants to be fed. It takes courage to pour into others even when your own cup feels low. But that's where real wealth is built. Not in what you keep, but in what you give away. The time you invest. The wisdom you share. The hand you extend when someone else is falling. There's a reason the most respected people are the ones who serve with heart. Because service doesn't just benefit others. It transforms you. It shapes your character. It quiets your pride. It teaches you how to lead with empathy, how to listen without judgment, and how to give without expecting anything in return. In a world that promotes self-promotion, service stands as a radical act of love. And love is the currency of true wealth. The truth is, nothing you own will go with you when you leave this earth. The cars, the clothes, the titles, the trophies, they fade. But what you build in people, what you sow in others, what you plant in the hearts of those you serve, that echoes through eternity. It lives on in stories, in changed lives, in quiet moments of gratitude that no one else may see but that matter deeply. That's the wealth no one can steal. That's the return that never loses value. It doesn't require millions to serve. You don't need to be in a position of power or influence. All you need is a willingness to see others, to step outside yourself, and to act. Service can be a word of encouragement, a helping hand, a listening ear. It can be mentoring someone younger, supporting someone struggling, or simply showing up when it's inconvenient. These are the moments where true wealth is built, in the margins, in the ordinary, in the unseen. Serving others also gives your pain a purpose. The struggles you faced, the battles you fought, the lessons you've learned, they become tools in the hands of service. You begin to realize that your scars aren't just reminders of what you've been through. They're keys to help someone else heal. When you use your journey to lift someone else, your pain is redeemed. It becomes part of a larger story, one that brings hope instead of history. True wealth is not measured by how much control you have, but by how much love you give. And service is love in action. It says, I see you. I care. I'm with you. That kind of presence can be more valuable than any material gift. People may forget what you did for them, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And when you serve with sincerity, people feel seen, valued, and empowered. You don't serve to be noticed. You serve because it's right, because it's needed, because your life isn't just about you. It's a channel, not a container. What flows to you is meant to flow through you. Your gifts, your time, your story, your resources, they're meant to multiply, not stagnate. When you hold back, you limit not only others but yourself. But when you give freely, you live fully. The most meaningful moments in life aren't built in boardrooms or on stages. They're built in hospitals, classrooms, streets, and homes. They're built when someone makes time, when someone chooses empathy, when someone sacrifices comfort for connection. That's where you find the heart of true wealth. Not in applause, but in impact. Not in recognition, but in relationship. Serving others also teaches gratitude. When you step into someone else's shoes, when you meet them in their need, you begin to appreciate your own blessings more deeply. Gratitude grows in the soil of service. You realize how much you have, how much you've learned, how much you can offer, and that realization doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you generous. There is something sacred about living a life poured out, about using every breath not just to exist but to elevate, not just to survive but to serve. The irony of service is that the more you give, the more you receive, not in money or fame, but in fulfillment, in joy, in peace, in a kind of quiet contentment that can't be faked or bought. Because you know you're living on purpose, and that's priceless. The world doesn't need more celebrities. It needs more servants, people who are willing to roll up their sleeves, to get their hands dirty, to build something that will outlive them. People who care more about others than they do about applause. People who give without keeping score. That's the wealth that multiplies. That's the kind of legacy that doesn't need a spotlight to shine. Service requires sacrifice. It will cost you time, comfort, energy. But what you gain in return is far greater. You gain connection. You gain meaning. You gain a life that matters. Not just to you, but to others. You don't need to change the world in one giant leap. But if you serve faithfully, consistently, humbly, one life at a time, you'll look back and realize you changed more than you ever imagined. True wealth is found in a life that lifts others, in a heart that says, I'm here to serve, not just to succeed. That kind of life leaves a mark. That kind of life reflects something divine. Because the greatest among us are not the ones who take the most, but the ones who give the most. The ones who lead with love, live with purpose, and serve with everything they've got. In the end, what defines your life won't be how high you climbed, how much you owned, or how loud the world applauded. It will be how you lived, how you served, how you stood firm in your faith, and how you responded when life knocked you down. Fall forward when you fail, because every stumble in the right direction still moves you closer to purpose. Put God first, because without him, success is hollow and directionless. Work hard even when it's unseen, because excellence is built in the grind long before it's ever recognized. And never forget that true wealth isn't in what you gather, but in what you give. Legacy isn't measured in followers or fame. It's measured in the lives you touched, the hearts you lifted, and the difference you made when no one was watching. That is how greatness is built. That is how purpose becomes power. That is how you live full and die empty.